Hello, Jess.
Hi, James.
All right, we are now live. We've got this split screen view going on. How are you doing?
Doing okay. How are you?
I'm a little frazzled from. I was trying to set up the live stream and audio was not working the way I liked, so I was like scrambling to get it all fixed. But we're all fixed now, hopefully. If people are watching,
sweet setup.
looks like Doze is watching. How's our audio?
Oh, hey, Dozo.
I was scrambling with the audio. I think one of my wires here was not functioning properly and I wasn't picking up the audio, so I was like scrambling to get it all set up, and I think we have everything set up, but we had to start 30 minutes later. And then in my like scrambling to fix things, I accidentally messed up the original link that we sent out for the live stream, so we had to start a new one. But we're all correct now. I'm excited. There's a lot of extra setup because I wanted to play with a couple new things with my live streaming stuff, and one of them. Well, I don't know if I could show this, but I have this. Yeah, it's showing in the split screen. I have this. Maybe I should put myself on full screen.
Okay.
It's this pad where I could switch between my view, Jess's view. This is a lot easier to use. And then we've got our split screen. And then the other thing that I'm testing out is this iPad screen. So we got both Jess and myself on the screen, and we've hooked up my iPad with a, what is this, with Apple Pencil and Procreate on it.
By the way, Pete says there's a small delay in the audio.
Not synced. Okay. Are you seeing that too, Doza? Our audio not syncing with the video? Let's just keep going with it, and then we'll see if I could fix it later. It might just be a consequence of using the ultra low latency setting. But we have Jess here playing around with the iPad with Procreate that I have hooked up onto the live stream.
That's me.
Yeah. So Doz is also saying our audio is slightly off, but I think that's just a consequence of doing the ultra low latency setting on YouTube, so we could get as live as possible to what we're actually saying and what people are seeing on the other end. So I think we'll just deal with it for now, because I think that's a trade-off that we're making to get almost live feedback for what we're actually saying in real time. Because the other settings that we had set before, we'd like say things and then like a minute later people would react.
Yeah, but I think that was okay.
Yeah, but
it's
we'll
just
see.
only slight. It'll be okay.
This is just another experiment in
You'll be
our
okay,
live
Pete.
streaming. In our live streaming thing. So Jess is doing a little bit of drawing here.
Hi, Esther.
We have the iPad Pro hooked up here to the screen. I hope this is coming in pretty nicely with both of our views. And that's a nice drawing.
Thanks. I went to art school.
A nice doodle. So we have a whiteboard back at the apartment, and Jess makes nice little drawings next to our grocery list. And these are the types of drawings we get on our like little thing. But I don't know. I wanted to have this set up. I didn't even know if we're going to use it, but at least we get to use it in the beginning here. Have Jess do a little bit of a sketch for you. Peter says to draw him.
To draw him?
Yeah, can you draw?
I got you, fam.
Can you draw him from?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Peter is my brother. He's my little brother, my baby brother. All right, are you ready?
Like, you're gonna make him. Wow. He also wears a hat all the time.
He does wear the hat, right?
Just like me.
I'm in James's frame. Okay, hold on. Can I move this closer?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I can't.
So I have like the shortest USB-C wire hooked up to the iPad Pro, and it's like precariously stretched across my studio.
All right, I got you, Pete. My brother has really small eyes.
Yeah.
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 Sorry. Hi, Maka. I'm blocking James. Everyone says I'm blocking
you're not.
you.
You were before.
Pete wants a mullet. Do you want a hat?
Give him the Yankee hat.
Yankee hat, and then a mullet underneath?
Yeah, have the mullet come out from back. The party in the back.
Party in the back? Oh, shit. So cool. This is like my first time like using Procreate, so I'm learning
That's not true.
Well, it's my second time using
Second time.
Procreate.
When I first bought the iPad, I gave it to Jess, and she like did this beautiful drawing, like within the first 10 to 15 minutes of opening up Procreate. I think Procreate is really awesome because I mean, you have a lot of experience with actual paints, and it seems to mimic like paints and brushes pretty well. No? You gave him nipples?
Yeah, I gave him nipples.
There you go. Hat with the mullet coming out behind.
How's this, Pete? I think you look beautiful.
So Pete, when we were talking about topics to talk about in the live stream, Pete wanted to talk about haircuts and mullets. Why was it mullets?
He just yeah, Pete. Why does he want a mullet? Doza, this is really accurate. I wish I can pull up a photo of my brother, but this is basically exactly
you
what
can see
he
his
looks
little
like.
photo in the thumbnail of the chat.
That's exactly here.
Except
I'll give him the glasses.
Yeah, give him the glasses.
All
yeah,
right.
that's exactly his.
Yeah, there we
his
go.
avatar.
This is dope.
Yeah, there we go.
Procreate's so dope.
Well, I was actually joking around that I might end up having a mullet. So Jess gave me a little bit of a trim.
You want to zoom in on your face to show?
I can't control the zoom, but...
Well, or you want to take it off of Procreate so that they can see your full head.
Oh, yeah, I have this, like, little pad here. So...
If you notice, I trimmed up... It's grown out since then, but he had all of these fuzzies over here, so I cut that. And then I did a fade here, but that's grown out since. And then I also cut the back of his hair here, because it went down to here, to shape his, curve. But he hasn't stopped wearing a hat inside the house since he got
So the top of my hair is ridiculous. So if we keep going on with this, where you just keep, shaving down the sides of my head, and maybe if you stop cutting down the back of my head and just keep shaving down the sides as my hair grows and grows, then I'll end up with a mullet.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I can give you like the fuckboy sides and then like let the rest like where it's like nice and faded.
I guess. Okay.
And then it's like buzzed on the side and then just poofy on the top. Yeah.
Okay. We could do that. Yeah, so I was just joking around that, like, if you just keep trimming, however long this goes, if you just keep trimming the sides of my head, I'll just naturally end up with a mullet.
Because I can leave the back.
And then all the back will be growing.
Yeah.
So I would eventually end up with a mullet because the only thing that would be getting cut is the sides.
Yeah. I was thinking, when my brother mentioned the hair thing, I was actually thinking about how, like, we actually used to legitimately get bowl cuts when we were kids. Mm-hmm. My mom would kind of cut me and my brother's hair. Yeah. I'm sure your hair is like too thick and luxurious for a bowl cut.
My brother had a bowl cut. I didn't. I always got like the crew cuts. So either just completely shaving it down to like a 1 or 2 buzz.
Mm-hmm. Is your brother's hair silkier than yours?
It was a little bit. He always kept it a little bit long, but he had the thing with the part in the middle.
Oh, the butt hair, the AZN butt head.
Yeah. And it looked like you could have done that with the bowl.
Yeah, no, because I had bangs too. My brother had like the ill bowl cut, so she would have that big white bowl that we had soup out of the other day, and it would just be, yeah.
So she literally used the bowl to cut your hair.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because how else do you get it straight all across if you're not like a professional?
I thought that was just what it looked like,
no,
not actually how they did it.
No, that's why they say it. They'll put like a bowl and then trim around it because it's like a mushroom. Yeah. It's that mushroom style. Mm-hmm. Damn, that was like so in back in like the 2000s, early 90s.
Yeah. So I don't know if anybody out there does how's your haircut game going?
Oh yeah, you cut your own hair.
Did you cut?
My brother is like triggered right now.
I was watching Doza's recent YouTube video. I was like, oh, like it's like really puffy on top. I was like, oh damn, he got a haircut. I was like figuring out how to get my own haircut done.
Why? Because you don't like me? You don't trust me? I spent like an hour on that hair, right? And I tried to get a whole fade and everything.
Yeah.
And then he tipped his barber while he was in my chair because he was like, wow, I so value my barber.
I missed my barber.
Wow.
So I did that. So yeah, because my barber is not working due to all this these uncertain times.
These uncertain times.
And I kind of felt bad, so I Venmoed him some money because it was about time that I was due for a haircut, and I just thought about him and, wanted to make sure he was getting some money. But yeah, so we got that. So we wanted to talk about some other quarantine stuff before we get into talking about productivity.
Yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about what cohabitating has been for us, according to my cute drawing. Yeah. But yeah, James and I have been shacking up during this time. Shacking up, like I don't know.
Getting together.
What does it mean? I thought that meant like literally being together in a shack. Wait, what does it mean?
We're shacking up. Continue.
So James and I have been staying together, staying together during this time, these uncertain times.
Peter and Dozer are like, ew.
Oh no, guys! Oh my god. Okay, James and I have been COVID cohabitating.
I'm like,
oh my god.
Continue cohabitating. That's what you meant when you said shacking up.
Okay, James and I have been COVID cohabitating during this time so that I can like protect my parents and stuff. So it's been really interesting. This is like the most domestic I've been. And I keep thinking, I like mention this sometimes, but I keep thinking about like my childhood, how recently we started doing our own laundry in the bathtub, right? Like just the small stuff, like underwear, and we just recently washed towels and stuff. But like I had vivid flashbacks of like being a kid and like watching TV on the floor and being like super surrounded by those drying racks. Mm-hmm. So we just ordered a drying rack off of Amazon, and it's exactly like the one my mom had.
Yeah. And we're utilizing my fire escape to put the drying rack outside. So yesterday we put the drying rack outside in the sun so it could dry naturally in the sun versus dripping all over my bathtub in my apartment.
Yeah.
And
James's apartment is actually like they're like tenement style, like old school railroad apartments. So all of the backyards and each level has these like clotheslines, like old school clotheslines that stretch across the backyards too.
Yeah. So yeah, we had that. Well, we're not utilizing the clothesline yet because we don't have clothespins, but we have. I actually didn't even know this. I've been living in my apartment. This is like 3 years now. I didn't even know that line was like right outside my kitchen window.
Yeah.
But there's like a laundry line that you could hook up clothespins on and just like pull it out.
Yeah.
And, like, across the backyard. So if we buy some clothespins, we could actually utilize that. And I didn't even know that it was there up until now.
They're coming in the mail, but that line is like nasty.
Yeah, the line is like
black,
pretty dark and dirty.
Yeah, but I definitely had one of those when I was a kid. It like stretched out to the we lived right next to a train station, and on the back it like stretched out to the train station, and we used to use it all the time.
And then people from the train station would
like pee on it,
snooping on your and peeing on your clothes.
No, I don't know if that actually happened, but you could. But you would always get like train dust on it too. Mm-hmm. But that was definitely a part of my childhood that I vividly remember, using the clothesline. But we didn't notice it until I started hanging out in his fire escape because I was like desperate for sunlight.
The thing I get nervous about with the clothesline is that like, so I guess people in quarantine are just wearing the same clothes over and over and over again. So like there's no need for that much laundry.
If you have kids though, like kids are nasty.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, like, so the laundry that we're doing is primarily underwear because that's what you need to cycle through every single day. So the thing I get nervous about is just, since the clothesline goes over into the backyard, like the wind blowing my underwear down into the backyard, and then I have to go down to my first floor neighbor and be like, hey, my underwear is all in your backyard. Could I pick it up?
Yeah, I think as long as there's nothing like incriminating on the underwear, like skid marks. I think that's okay. If you're doing laundry right.
There is such a thing as cycling through underwear. When you like use up all your underwear, you could just turn it inside out, and then the dirty side is on the outside, and no.
James has like full disclosure. James has like 60 pairs of underwear, so we don't need to do laundry for like 3 months.
Yeah,
but
we have.
I have clothespins. I actually ordered clothespins off of Amazon. We're gonna go full immigrant.
Yeah, we're gonna try and utilize that so it doesn't touch the dirty line.
I mean, it's still gonna. The clothespins are to pin the fabric onto the line like that.
I obviously don't know how clothespins work.
Yeah, but we put the drying rack on the fire escape yesterday, and we can use the clothespins to pin things onto the drying rack too.
So that's our home hand washing laundry game currently, because the laundromat. So I don't have a washer or dryer in my apartment. So the laundromats all around my area are all closed because of lockdown. So not able to do laundry, and we just have to do it in the bathtub, which is fine.
Yeah.
All I really have to wash is underwear.
Yeah, well, we wash shirts and towels, and I don't know.
Oh yeah,
It's all right.
Towels and dish towels.
Yeah.
A lot of dishes. So that's the other thing with quarantine. So many dishes. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So many dishes.
Well, we're cooking a lot. I think that's
Yeah.
the other thing. I'm really happy to be cohabitating with somebody who like can cook too. But like this is the most I've cooked in my entire life. Like I tend to make really, really simple meals if I need to, usually like 5 ingredients or less. But the more I've been doing it, like the more I've become confident, and I can like make really simple meals well. So that's been really fun. My brother said he found yeast. I ordered yeast like a month ago, and it was coming from like China, and then Amazon lost it. So I can't make bread. I hate baking though. I hate baking. So I probably won't do it, but
I mean, bread is okay. Like we have a bakery that does bread like 2 blocks away that's still open.
I've been stealing my brother's
Yeah.
fiance's bread.
Oh yeah.
So
That bread has been good. Pretty good bread. Yeah, that's kind of the quarantine stuff. Let's see. Maka is asking, is your super gonna let you keep their... So I have it's more of like a family style apartment, so I talk directly with my landlord, so I don't really have a super, but the drying rack doesn't stay out there permanently. We just take it out when we have stuff to dry, and then we bring it back in. So
yeah, and generally I've been like avoiding going out on the fire escape because I know that to have it like blocked is illegal.
yep.
But I also think like people get it right now. Like it's just, but what I also remember about like Brooklyn living in general is that like people vibe on the fire escapes as if it was a balcony.
Isn't that like West Side Story? Like everybody's singing off of their fire escapes.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love West Side Story.
Uh-huh.
Roz is asking what camera is being used.
What camera is being used?
Yeah, she says the quality is so good.
A6300, A7 III. Very expensive stuff.
Very expensive stuff, Roz.
I think it's not just the camera, it's the lenses. So the
Yeah.
lenses are just as much as the cameras. Actually,
Panty stealer, sorry.
the 2 lenses that are on the cameras, they're more expensive. Each one by themselves is more expensive than one of the cameras that I'm using. It's more about the lenses than the cameras.
Mm-hmm. But James, I mean, he does photography and videography, so he's been investing a lot into lenses as a part of his career vibes.
Yeah. So, I think we've warmed up a little bit, and I think we got some people in here.
Oh, do you want to talk about composting? Is that
Oh,
for another
yeah.
time? So we're like real hipsters now. Williamsburg living, round glasses, and we started composting.
But
the
not
other
like
day.
normal composting. So, I mean, so part of this was like I actually saw the news that I don't know if they started it yet, but they're gonna stop due to budget cuts because of like COVID. They're gonna stop doing the compost collection.
Oh, like our food scraps and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been keeping our food scraps. So I don't know I'm sure everybody here is from New York, but generally New York City, there's like a rule in place where you keep your food scraps separate from the rest of your garbage so that they can pick it up for composting. We've been pretty good about that.
So there was like a recent thing that because of budget cuts, they're not going to be collecting compost for like a year or something like that. At least that's the article that I read. And we collect all of our food scraps like in a bag or bin, like when like all the leftover stuff. And we try to food compost, but anyway, I thought it would be a good idea to try composting, but we're not like doing the worm composting type of composting. I was like doing some research. I actually was looking up like gonna buy 250 worms and like a bucket and drill holes in it and like have the worms eat up all of our food garbage. But apparently like with that you can't put in is it cooked meats and dairy?
I think they said dairy is fine. Oh, you mean with with the worms?
With the worms.
Yeah, you can't do
compost,
cooked meats, cooked foods,
bones.
yeah, bones and stuff.
Like that. So in my like little search of composting, I found out this like specific method called bokashi composting, and you basically put all your food scraps into a bin, and then there's this like bokashi grain. It's like this Japanese grain that you sprinkle on top of it, and then after, I guess it's 2 weeks. After about 2 weeks, this whatever it like ferments, and like there's water drainage runoff from the fermentation process that you could actually use to fertilize indoor plants. And then the matter that's left over you could bury into a garden, into like normal composting, and it's usable for gardening. Well, I guess it's not usable immediately when you bury it because it's like super acidic, but like you bury it into soil, and then it's like another 2 weeks after that, then it's like ready to be used for plants.
It's like pre-composting, composting. The reason why James actually he went on into this whole doing research, but like if you keep compost and there has to be like air holes inside of it so that the worms can breathe, and then it stinks. It's like mad smelly. So this one, you don't need worms, you don't need air holes. It doesn't smell because it's all contained. You can leave it out on the fire escape if you want. The fire escape is like our extension now. But it's going to be interesting. We'll let you know. Fertilize our thriving plants.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I see there's a whole conversation on yeast happening here.
Yeah, Esther. Are you talking about sourdough starter, though? Like, I heard that you can make yeast with sourdough starter, but then you have to, like, keep the starter alive. Like, you have to feed it every day.
So I think the thing that I read is you need to, like, mix water, but it needs to be, like, is it, like, distilled water or something? And flour. And then you just like
wheat flour.
Like wheat flour, and you just let it sit, and then like after a day it starts like bubbling because like it's collecting, just because apparently like
it's
yeast,
fermenting on its own.
like yeast or whatever is just in the air, and this process collects it, and then that's the
yeast
stuff.
Is in the air.
I think so. Is that true? Can someone
like I can just collect? I can become like
that's
yeasty.
that's what sour.
Are there like yeast levels in the air where if you like walk outside you catch a yeast infection?
Maybe. But I think that's the process of making your own starter.
I'm very skeptical that there's yeast in the air. I just like don't believe your science.
There's yeast in the air.
Okay. You gotta make masks for yeast now. I'm not trying to get a nasal yeast infection. I guess if
you have an N95, that prevents the yeast from collecting into yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, Maka says there's yeast everywhere.
I mean, I know there's yeast on your like body, like on your like eyelashes.
Yeah. No, I mean
belly
I don't know. So I didn't like fact check this.
Okay.
Someone fact checked me.
Yeah.
But I think there's just yeast in the air. I think that's what making your own starter is actually doing. Is that process is collecting whatever yeast is in the air.
But then I was like looking into it because I love like sourdough bread is like my preferred bread. But the idea of having to like feed it every day and keep it alive is like way more pressure.
But you could kill it at any time.
But then I'd be murdering something, and that's like a very different story.
Do you want like equal rights for bacteria?
I just don't want to be a murderer.
Yeah.
Back when I used to, in my childhood home, at one point we had a roach problem because like Brooklyn. And it would get to the point where like every morning when I woke up, I'd have to like kill like 5 or 6 roaches like on my kitchen counter, right? And it was like really starting to stress me out because I'd have to like start my day with murder. So the way that I like balanced it in my life is that I would like wake up and water my plants first.
Yeah.
So that I would give life to something first.
That's cute.
Before I murdered.
It's a good step to start on.
Thank you.
A good routine to, wake up every morning and keep something alive.
Before I go on my murdering spree.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Moving to the topic
Moving on. Fermenting dried fruit like raisins. That's crazy, y'all. Can you just like email me or text me this
whole
information? Yeasting.
We're going to become like
farmers.
Such like city farmers, conservationists by the end of this thing.
You're gonna grow a beard and start wearing like overalls?
If I could grow a beard, I would grow a beard. I just grow like here and here.
Oh, you got that Asian goatee.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, like certain Asians.
I shaved just for. Can you tell I shaved just for this?
Oh, it's so sweet.
Anyway.
Some Asians will only grow like a patch
the cheek,
here.
Yeah, the cheek hair, like and it like gets pretty high too.
Really?
I've seen some people where it's getting pretty high up on the cheeks.
Nice. All right, cool.
But
so
I think
let's see.
we did have a topic that we wanted to focus on for this particular live stream, and it was recommended by Chow. I don't know if Chow is currently watching here. But we're going to talk about productivity.
Yeah, we're probably going to be doing these more often, guys. So if you want to tune in, then, like if you have a topic for us, just shoot it over and it'll be interesting to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first live stream we did, we just kind of bantered.
Winged it, yeah.
But we kind of we got into like a sort of serious topic, and we're like, we actually like focusing on...
Yeah, what did we talk about
specific
last time?
topics?
We talked
like
about fear.
Failure.
We talked about failure. I thought we talked about a fear.
Yeah, well, it was fear of failure.
Okay.
And then we got like really into it, and we're like, you know what, maybe for the next one we should like focus on a singular topic. So we both, I think Jess put out a feeler for topics, and we talked about Peter's mullet already.
Yeah.
But Chow mentioned something about productivity, which I thought was really cool. I would love to talk about productivity in general, and then also maybe we could talk about how we're dealing with productivity in these uncertain
times. Yes. Here, I'll do it.
But yeah, let me just answer Doz's quick question here. And he asked if the A7 III is on Jess and if I have the A6300. He's correct. A6300 is pointing at me, and the A7 III is pointing at Jess.
How can you tell? Is it because I'm prettier in this? Is that how you can tell which one has like the better?
Maybe. I think
lens?
it's sharper. Oh no, it's not. I have no idea.
And for me also, it's the lighting. Like I'm facing the windows.
Crop factor. He's correct.
Aha.
Yeah.
Okay, look at you guys.
Okay, back to productivity.
Here, I'm gonna do a title card.
Do you want me to go back to the?
Yeah. Okay.
Jess is gonna do a little bit of a intro sketch as we begin talking about productivity.
Wait, fuck. Fuck, I spelled it wrong. Hold on.
Did you spell productivity?
I did. I got distracted by singing.
Not very productive spelling.
Oh my god, this is hard. Okay.
All right, as Jess is doing this, I can't do like a do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah, why not?
Like
anyway, why don't you just start talking while I figure out my life?
Yeah, so Chow had recommended talking about productivity, and I thought as a broad topic, productivity would be something really cool to talk about. And then also maybe we could talk a little bit about how we're dealing with productivity in these uncertain times. Because in some ways, I feel like I've gotten more productive. I don't know about you, Jess, but that looks really cool.
Thanks.
That is a cool marker.
Thanks.
Procreate.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. I'm done. All right.
All right. That's the intro.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
So how we're dealing with productivity in this time? In general, have you felt more or less productive since the lockdown?
I mean, in general, for me, it's like week by week.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm like obviously the more emotional one out of the two of us, and I think during times where it's like this past week was great, but the week before that I was in like a black hole and I just couldn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Although during that time I think I did a lot of art. Whereas for me, because it's hard for me to not be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I do tie like a lot of my joy in having like a purpose or like something to complete. So I was painting, but I wasn't productive in terms of like my business or, connecting with people or even like talking to people.
You're still like doing...
I was doing stuff.
You're doing workshops and stuff.
Not that week. Like I wasn't responding to emails.
You're talking about just that 1 week.
Yeah, that 1 week. Right.
Yeah.
And I think overall, yeah. So that's how I've been dealing with it. This week, I felt myself kind of getting a little more energetic on Sunday. Like my storm cleared. It was like last week was a storm.
Yeah.
And then last Sunday, I was like, oh shit, I feel really like okay today. So I made sure that I like showed up to work every day, even if I couldn't produce at the volume I was producing. My goal was to get back onto the ball.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
I mean, so additionally on top of that, we had your cat sitting, your family's cat.
My boo.
And part of that was
Yeah.
like he was always waking us up at 7 or even 6:30 a.m. or
Yeah.
7 a.m. And I think that totally made a difference in terms of my productivity, at least. Like when we got up really early in the morning because Spooky was waking us up. I also kind
At
of
like
had a
6:30.
burst of energy too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always known that like if I wake up early, I'll be more productive, but like it's
Yeah,
just
that's like a hack.
it's so easy to stay in bed though. So I mean,
Yeah.
if there's any way after all of this we could somehow just like have like force ourselves to get up early in the morning,
You mean like set an alarm?
like a really really fucking annoying alarm, sorry, excuse my cursing,
Oh my
but like
god.
a really annoying alarm, I think would be super helpful to just like kind of force ourselves to just get up early in the morning, because that's when I end up getting super productive.
Yeah, I think the really good thing about having my cat around, because we borrowed him for like 2 weeks, and the good thing about having him around was that I was forced into having a routine. Like that wasn't just centered around my feelings. Like I had to get up at 6:30. We had like specific times that we had to feed him because he wouldn't let us miss a feeding.
Yeah.
But every time I wake up early, I'm like, I should do this more often. Like time moves differently before 11. Like you get so much shit done.
Yeah.
If you just start at 7.
Yeah.
And then I also get like tired faster. So my like the most productive I've been has been when I sleep from like 11 to 7. But if anybody knows me, my normal sleep schedule is like 3 a.m. to like 9 a.m.
I mean, I think it's a matter of finding your time, like when you're most productive, because you're also like awake really really late at night sometimes.
Yeah.
Like past midnight, like midnight to 3 a.m. and you like one night you just banged out an entire newsletter.
Yeah.
And like in that hour. So it might be different for some people because there's all these like YouTube videos of people saying like you gotta get up at like 5 a.m. and it's like, dude, there's some people who are just not like morning people, and they're like night people, that their most productive time might be like from 1 a.m. to like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
When, like nobody else is up and like there's no other distractions. Maybe that's like part of it too, that like people are more productive at 5 a.m. because nobody else is awake. But in the same vein, like you might be more productive from like 1 to 4 a.m. because also that's a time when like nobody else is. There's no other distractions.
I mean, Doza just mentioned that he's like a night owl, and he's more productive late at night. And I actually do want to say that there have been some studies out there, not studies. There's been some stories out there about how creative minds work best at night.
Yeah.
Like writers, for instance. There's that time where I like woke up. I got out of bed at like 11 o'clock. I woke up in the middle of the night to like, was it at 11 or like 3?
It was much later.
Later, sorry. I got out of bed at like 2 or 3 in the morning because I was like, oh. And then I write a lot at night. So I don't know if there's something. I don't know if it is because I have no distractions at night, because I can easily go on Facebook if I wanted to, and that's like the ultimate distraction.
Yeah.
But there's something about just like I just download stuff at night, and I just like my brain synapses go off differently.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been able to find the perfect time for me. I mean, I think I've mentioned this to you, but when I am on the schedule of going to work, like working the 9 to 5, 9 to 6, I always felt like my prime hour was like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Because like I've situated myself at work. I've been kind of like trying to get my wheels moving.
Yeah.
And then like my sweet spot is around like 11 a.m. is like when I start like kicking into gear. And if you work with me and like in the office, you'll know that I take lunches at like 3 p.m. Because I have this like spurt of energy from like starting at 11 a.m. until like 2 or 3 p.m. That's why like everybody else like goes and gets lunch at noon exactly, but like that's when I'm like hitting my momentum. So I feel like that's my sweet spot in terms of productivity, like from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy like waking up early and like I just felt like I was in a better mood, even though in that hours from like 6:30 a.m. to like my meetings at 11 a.m. like I probably didn't accomplish anything, but I like just felt much better once it hit that 11 a.m. and I was like, all right, whoosh, could start going to work and start doing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if I, getting like also when I've been outside at 7:30, I don't know like when the last time you've been like in these streets at 7:30 was, but there have been times where I've had to go to like meetings or like 8:30 meetings or whatever in like deep Queens, so I'd have to get on the train really early. And there's something really like the air feels different at 7:30 in the city, like before all the assholes wake up and like the sun's fully out. Like it just feels really beautiful.
Yeah.
Every time I'm like, damn, I should be a morning person.
Yeah.
But well, let's be real. 11 a.m. gang.
So, I mean, so that's like time, like when's your most productive times? But I think the other part of, especially in like quarantine times, one of the other like productivity hacks is to like get a routine. And I think you were mentioning that when we had Spooky, was that he kind of he anchored a routine for us.
Yeah.
And I know that like when I first started working, my first job was a work from home job, and I was the worst. Like I would, even though like a long time ago when I was like supposed to be awake at like 9 a.m., I'd like wake up and like log into whatever, and then I just like go back to sleep, and like I would
Yeah, but
not
you're also
get
like 20, like 19.
That's true. I was young, but I mean,
We're like awful when we're 19.
but like part of that too is like one of the hacks that I learned later on was that if you're working from home was to build a routine. Like you should get up every morning and take a shower. And like once you, even if you're still working at home, just get up, take a shower, because it like kind of gets your body like awake and like, all right, my day is starting.
Yeah.
So that was like one of the things that I learned was like you should get into some routine. Like the shower thing is definitely a good thing, especially like if you're not really good with working from home.
Yeah.
To kind of build that routine. And then the other part is like making work in a different section of your home that is like isolated and feels like an office. So if your desk is next to your bed, which when I was growing up and working from home in my parents' house, like my computer was like right next to my bed.
Yeah.
It was easy to like roll out of bed, get on the computer, and then like go back to sleep. So another thing was like put your like workstation very far away from
if
your
you
bed,
can. If you can.
But I mean, even if you're in a small apartment, put it in the farthest corner of the room from your bed, so it's not like you're sitting in bed with your computer on your lap working. Like you have to get up and go to the other side of the room and like in your like little space.
Yeah. So one of the things that I used to do because I wasn't able to really maximize space is that I also use different lamps. Like for me, that like white light is like this, like a office fluorescent light. So for me, I would have like a lamp that I turn on to signal that I'm working. I have that at your apartment too. I have like a work lamp that's just like, all right, that's it. Like I'm in brain zone. And then when I take breaks, I turn it off.
Yeah.
But it is the whole thing about like routine and ritual. I'm like very bad at routines in general, but I do have certain things where I signal to my brain that it's time to do something. Like I know you guys have heard, ad nauseum, make the bed as soon as you wake up. Like I kind of rolled my eyes at that, but I started doing that, and it's absolutely true. Like you signal to yourself that your nap time is over. Similar to the way that like people, I have something sweet after dinner to tell myself that food is over. Same thing.
Oh, that's what that's for.
Yeah, kind of.
So I should really declare when my meals are over by having some sweets.
You have like an orange or something every time.
Yeah.
But some people like unconsciously need a dessert, and that because it's like a signal to the brain that their food is over.
Yeah.
But yeah, like usually I'd have to have some kind of morning routine, and I noticed that like when I don't have a ritual, I get a little bit ungrounded. So like when I was drinking coffee every day, like making coffee was my morning ritual, right? Like there's like steps. Like I can't start my day until this, and this.
I definitely have that. I need to like the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is to get my coffee going.
Totally.
And, like once I like settle in and drink my cup of coffee, I'm like, all right, I'm in the mode now.
I had to quit coffee because I'm feeble now, and like the acid really like messes with me. So I lost my morning ritual, and I didn't know how to replace it. And back when I used to smoke cigarettes, like I don't know. I think when people try to quit smoking, like my theory is that the hardest thing is actually quitting that sense of ritual, because like so much of my days were split according to when I smoked. Like get out of the train station, light a cigarette. 11 o'clock, have my break. After lunch, have my break. 6 o'clock, time to light a, so I had like definitive times where I would do certain things. And when I quit, I like didn't have a routine or a ritual anymore. So it was really fascinating. Around that time, like instantly my brain would be like, I need something. And if we can't get past that, we never quit. So that was also something interesting.
Definitely routine is important.
That cat video that Maka sent over. So Maka sent us a video on like how to have a pet during quarantine,
The
and
video
the
with
cat daddy.
that guy is in that TV show My Cat from Hell.
Is that it? Yeah. His name is
which-
Cat Daddy. So Cat Daddy talked about how important it is for cats to have routine, ritual, and rhythm. The 3 R's. And I think that's pretty valid for us too.
Yeah.
So it's start a
So we're all
routine,
cats.
make a ritual of doing it every day, and then once you do it every day, you have a rhythm. And that's how we kind of stay grounded.
Yeah.
Doza.
What's my routine in Animal Crossing? I don't have a routine in Animal Crossing. There's a lot of routine things that happen in that game, but I don't follow any of them. Basically, when I get bored, I play Animal Crossing.
The debt simulator? Debt simulator?
Yeah.
Gosh.
But I wanted to get back to the light thing, because on the scientific side of things, I heard that, like, if you want to focus, like, you just make, like, you have to be around, like, blue lights. But, like, if you're working, you should try to avoid, like, the more orangey or, like,
What?
because you know what, like, the night shift on your phone?
Yeah.
Like, the
Oh, it
orangey
like
light?
signals to your brain that.
Like, apparently when you have, like, blue lights, the wavelength for the blue light color just, like, keeps you awake and keeps you, like, focused. So
I thought it was more about like damaging your corneas or something.
no.
Oh, okay.
No, there's something about the blue wavelength of light that, like, you know, signals to your brain to, like, stay up and stay awake. That's why, you know, night shift and things exist on your phone.
Yeah.
Um,
Maka
so-
says it works because it signals the time of day. Fair.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, one of the hacks is, so I have the Hue bulbs in the living room. So I've only done this once, but, like, we should start trying it out where, like, in the middle of the day when we're working, just put it more on the blue shift of light, and then later at night we get it more to the orange and reds. So that's a hack on the scientific side of things. Is
Yeah.
like, maybe you should just, you know, set all your lights to more of a blue setting when you want to focus and get work done. And then when you're done and you're at home in home mode, make sure you have the yellowish or reddish type of lights.
Yeah. I use lamps to signal spaces and spaces where I don't have space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also kind of thinking that productivity in terms of like doing tasks, I think, is something a little bit different than productivity in terms of like brainstorming or like creating ideas, right?
GSD.
Like, what's GSD?
Getting shit done.
Oh, I'm about to
Is that what
tattoo
you're
that
saying?
onto my like
GSD.
lower back. Just,
Get shit
yeah.
done.
Yeah, but in terms of getting shit done, I think, like, you know, having a dedicated space, having a dedicated light, like having, you know, that's one thing to just kind of have like a beginning and an end. Like, some people do work better when it's short bursts. For me, I actually take a really long time to get into that mindset, but once I'm in it, I'm in it. But I do think that we should, because I think you and I are both kind of creative in that sense, where we rely on our own like original ideas, and we need to create space for ideas. And that doesn't always work for me when I'm just like in an office space, like in a workspace, like with the blue light, because that's my get shit done trigger. But, you know, you were talking about how yesterday, like, you used to get your best ideas when you're on the train, right? Because you were just kind of forced to be still and forced to, like, you had no distractions around you. So I do think that it's really important for people who rely on creating ideas to also build that time into creativity. Like, go onto the fire escape. That's what I've been doing. You go onto the fire escape and you create intentional time for receiving information.
That's like the one thing that I miss in the idea creation is like my commute. I always tell you this, that like I get my best ideas like when I get my cup of coffee. So my routine when it was like going to work times was like go to Dunkin' Donuts right before I go into the subway, grab my like large iced coffee, get onto the subway and like drink my coffee while I'm on the subway to get to work. And it was that time where I was drinking my coffee, like sitting on the train or standing on the train, like, and just staring off into space, like drinking my coffee. Like, that's when the best ideas would come to my head. And with, you know, staying home and everything, not having to go into the office, I'm like sorely missing that because that, like I said, that's when I get like my big ideas of like, oh, I should give a talk on this topic. Like, oh, isn't it better? Like, if I'm working on a problem at work, like, oh, what if I ever tried that? Like, those types of ideas, like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? In my own head, that only happens when I'm drinking my coffee, like standing on the train.
So you should just, we talked about how you should just like take your coffee into like the bathroom and then just like
While
stand
I'm
there,
taking
like
stand in the bathroom or
yeah,
like while
yeah.
my poops are not as
No,
long as
no,
my
you don't.
commutes.
No, you don't poop on the train, right? Just try to like mimic the train commute. But I was also reading something recently about how the human mind, the human brain is used to shifts in environment.
Yeah.
Like it really relies on shifts in environment to kind of for like anchor yourself to a sense of routine or sanity or just like change. So, you know, on in like a city commute, like we're in our house, that's one environment. We go out onto the sidewalk, different shift. You're on the train, different shift. You are at your desk, different shift. You go on a walk. If you usually if you're at your desk and you need to like get into a different mindset, you just kind of like leave, you buy a cup of coffee, you do something just to like break that shift.
Yeah.
But when you're working at home and you're not allowed to go outside, you shouldn't be going outside. But somebody tell all these people in Williamsburg to stop going the fuck outside.
Oh my God.
Because there's so many people. There were like
Yeah,
12
like-
people at each intersection yesterday, and I wanted to like call the police.
Yeah, yesterday we were bringing Spooky back, and we had just got to the corner of my block, and like in that one intersection,
Barra.
we must have saw like 15 people
Yeah,
on bikes.
I was counting.
And like
walking around.
everybody at the corners just like
freaking breathing anyway.
it looked like Times Square in that intersection. Right
Yeah,
down the block
it just
from
looked
my
like it was
apartment.
lit. Like it just looked like nothing happened. Like, you know,
Yeah.
so we're here like dying inside. Well, we're here not dying inside. But, you know, these folks out here anyway, mad people were outside yesterday but that's the thing though.
Yeah.
Spring is such a heady time for New Yorkers. As soon as it hits like 55 in sun, like we're out there with no socks on. Like, you know, I miss that. But, you know, so we don't get to have that change in environment anymore. So there's nothing to signal to our brains that it's okay. Like we're just stuck. So I feel like we have to create those shifts ourselves.
Create those spaces.
Yeah.
Work mode, home mode.
Find different
that
areas
type
to
of
sit
thing.
in.
Yeah, create those spaces even if you're in a tiny studio, like whatever, make your corner your work corner, and then make your bed your wind down corner.
Yeah, or where the magic happens.
That's the magic corner.
Yeah. But yeah, so the other day, because it was beautiful outside and I'm a responsible person, I went out onto the fire escape. And now that I decided that this fire escape was going to be like my balcony, I like hooked it up. Like I've got like throw pillows and like a cute picnic blanket, and like, you know, I bring my tea out there. I've got like a plant. But I realized that I go out there to like read on purpose so that I can like break from the environment, signal to my brain that it's different, get some vitamins, you know, some sunlight. But also when you read, you just unconsciously take in information, especially if you're like a writer or something creative.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like very, very important to break from environment. I rely on that stuff. I can't be an indoor person.
Yeah.
I die.
I mean, typically I'm fine being indoors just because when I think about it, when I'm at work, working 9 to... What happened?
I'm in your frame.
Working 9 to 6.
Okay.
You were just doing that to...
Okay. All right.
Anyway, let me continue my train of thought. Rude. Where was I?
When you're working a 9 to 6.
Oh, when I'm working 9 to 6 from Monday to Friday, I am like pretty much indoors from 9 to 6 Monday to Friday. So I guess especially in the winter, it's like never getting any sunlight anyway because you're just always indoors when the sun is out.
Yeah.
So I haven't been as affected in terms of like lacking sunlight because I feel like I get the same amount of sunlight.
You mean like 0?
Yeah, like 0. 0 sunlight because I am just working
You had a cave.
every single day indoors in an office.
I'm like a plant. Like if I don't get I'm like a plant. If I don't get like sunlight, I'm a succulent because I don't drink water. But if I don't get like sunlight, then I get really droopy and depressed.
Yeah. Got to get that vitamin D.
I'm glad you're friends.
I mean, there's some value. Like, you know, have you ever tried those lights?
Doza wants Hutenberg more in the frame. Yo, he's like so rude. He's like creeping.
Have you ever tried those?
I should walk my plants.
The lights at night that like mimic sunlight.
Oh, the UV lights.
Like, isn't it supposed to help you sleep because you're like exposing yourself to whatever?
It's supposed to help
light.
you fight seasonal affective disorder.
No.
Seasonal affective disorder is when you get SAD, SAD.
You should get one of those lights for you.
No, I just need sunlight. Why don't we have access? Not like I live in a basement. I can just freaking. I just you get sunlight. Can we put Hutenberg more in your frame, please?
I'm like very far away.
Yeah, just like move him closer. Yeah, like more to the left. So, by the way, he found this owl in the Philippines.
His name is Hutenberg.
We named him Hutenberg.
Yeah, let's get the story
judgy
about this. So,
yeah.
Hutenberg, this guy right here. We were in the Philippines. I'm so happy that we got to go to the Philippines before this whole thing happened. But anyway, we were in the Philippines and it was Christmas time and we were in a Christmas themed store and they they had all these random ornaments.
Yeah.
And we were just like walking around all the Christmas trees, all the like Christmas decorations, and then he caught my eye. I was like, "Wow, look at that owl!" And like, so
just recreate what happened.
So the owl, like, he just looks really furry, right? So I noticed like how furry he looks, and then I like just went to grab him, and then this area on his chest is just so. It's like.
It's calming. It's soothing. It really is.
Soft and like.
So basically, people can't see you just like stroking its chest. But James was just standing there while his aunt was shopping. Can you just turn it more towards you so that it's like judging us a little bit? I like it when he judges me. So he was just like standing there zoning out, like staring off into space, just blindly blindly stroking this owl's chest for like 20 minutes.
Reenactment.
You have to stand a little bit so that they can like see you.
So I was like holding him like this,
like close to his chin, and then he was staring off into space a little bit, and then you were just like stroking his chest like that. So, and he wasn't like cheap, but
no, he wasn't cheap. It was like.
Don't tell them because they're going to judge you.
Yeah,
but he wasn't cheap.
For how much I spent for this
guy. Anita says, you can't just grab things that look soft and furry. Oh, he do. Sorry.
Well, this camera's still on me.
Yeah, okay. They couldn't see my face.
I didn't have a chance to go over to I didn't properly show this off. So I bought this pad to switch views, and that's why I keep looking off to the side. I'm having fun with this. Wait, I didn't get to test out this other stuff. I wonder if they work. So there's this laugh track that they play. We're in the Philippines. They play this laugh track. Let's see if that plays. But
okay, hold on. Let's try it again. Oh, he do.
We can't hear it because it's only playing on the
Okay, I'm going to do my punchline again. Oh, he do.
I think it does that. So let me know if that works. We can't hear it here because I just have it playing through the live stream. I think this is going to be a little bit of a segue, but since we're talking about my setup here, I also have another sound because we just recently discovered Jess is in love with the Jersey Club.
Oh my God, that's supposed to stop telling people my secrets.
Here's the other sound effect I have hooked up. Talking about the magic.
Just telling people. So for those who don't know, Jersey Club. What is Jersey Club?
It's a style of club music, and I don't know how to describe it, but
like the shot song. The beat in the shot song is a Jersey Club beat where it's like. Don't you have like that boom sound?
I don't have the boom sound. I just have the bed squeak. Yeah.
And then occasionally there are bed squeaks.
Yeah, a lot of Jersey Club beats have bed squeaks in them, and I just like the bed squeak. Jess loves Jersey Club, so we have the bed squeak, and then I have the laugh track.
Rosa says he hates the laugh track, by the way.
Let's get back on.
Can you put the camera on me? Because it's been on you this whole time, okay? And this is like an us thing, and
that was the whole
like
point of me showing
thing?
the thing was that I'm supposed to be switching back and forth, and I keep forgetting about it. But we went on the Hutenberg thing this year. All right, we'll just keep it on Jess for the rest of the live stream.
Okay.
Anyway, I have this like little pad here switching between stuff.
And I think it is an old school contraption. It's like the drum.
It's a drum pad. So it's meant for people who make beats and stuff to like make beats with it. But I'm using it to switch scenes and.
You can put the both of us on now, cause
split screen.
Okay.
I hope I'm staying in frame.
I don't know. I'm just like blocking you a lot.
Okay. Anyway, let's get back onto topic here. How did we get so
Jersey
far
Jersey
off
Club?
We were talking about
productivity?
laugh tracks and productivity.
Jersey Club.
And Jersey Club. Productivity and Jersey Club.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really. Do you guys have any questions on productivity? I don't know. I feel like we've talked about.
Talked about all of our. No, I think so. What are your tools for productivity? We were just talking about this at breakfast, but we're talking about Trello specifically. Who out there is a Trello user?
I don't love Trello.
I just like playing around with the interface.
Yeah.
It's like digital Post-its where you can like move things around.
So for those who aren't familiar, Trello, like there's a lot of like apps or websites that you can use to keep your lists and your tasks in like order. And Trello is one where it just uses these boxes and you can like put the boxes in categories and move them around and like mark them done and color code them and stuff like that. For me, it's like really confusing. It overwhelms me. It overstimulates me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Esther. What's an Airtable? My hand is in his Airtable? Face.
So I had a brief stint with Airtable. I think it's one of the many tools that people at my job use, and I never really got into it. It's kind of like all the tools in one. So they have like a Trello board type of thing in Airtable. They have like a Google Sheets type of thing in Airtable.
Isn't Airtable that thing you use to like reserve seats? Oh no, that's open. It's open table. Okay.
No. Airtable is just another productivity tool, and it's kind of like a mix of like Google Docs, Sheets, Trello. One of the things that I really found useful in Airtable was like forms. So they let you create forms. So I do design stuff, and I take a lot of requests from other coworkers. Mm-hmm. So I found that useful. Like I created a form for people to like go to that form and like make an art request with stuff, and then it fills into a. It's kind of like Google
take
Forms.
The camera off me while I struggle with my hair.
You want to control? I'm just put it on you. Okay. Well, Jess is adjusting her hair. So yeah, Trello is just this mesh of Google, all of the Google products plus Trello into one. But yeah, I found it a little bit overwhelming, and I didn't like enjoy logging into it when I used it.
So you prefer Trello?
I prefer Trello, but I think, yeah. So the thing with Trello, and I've mentioned this to you, was that, let's go back to the split. Jess's hair is back together. The thing I mentioned to you about Trello is that I enjoy using it when I'm in it, mm-hmm. but then I forget about it. I don't maintain it. Like, all right, I finished my Trello board. Like, I set everything up the way I want to set it up. Now it's time to go to work. And when I'm, like, working, I, like, forget to go back to Trello and update it or maintain it.
Yeah.
And then it just falls apart. So I personally I try to use Trello to organize all the projects that I'm working on at work, but my initial setup, I made like the perfect Trello board, the perfect system, I would say, but I've never like went back and updated it when I actually finished my projects, or like when a project went from being in progress to in review. I never moved it from in review to complete when it actually was complete. So
like you have to love, there's a part of me that's just like, people get a certain thrill of being like a closer. Like they love closing. They like to check shit off. And that's definitely not my vibe.
You don't get satisfied when you like check stuff off, or in your notebook and you like
cross things out. I'm much more of a notebook person. I'm analog. I've tried a lot of different notebooks, and I actually will say the Passion Planner, which I got as a gift on Christmas, and it was like really dope.
Brian, my friend, for Secret Santa, got Jess a Passion Planner.
Life-changing. But the thing is that this Passion Planner is also undated, which is perfect for me because right now I'm not doing a 9 to 5, so every week it's different. But like I have to play around with certain notebooks. Like I use vertical calendars, and I can like check them off, and I need space on the bottom and like freedom. Margins and like having an overall focus for the day rather than just a list of tasks, because especially when I was working in project management before in nonprofit, like it's just so overwhelming. You always, at any given moment, have 30 things on your list that you have to do. And at any given day, you'll be able to like knock out like 6 or 7 if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. And I've talked about this before, but when I hear you talk about your job and you're just like, yeah, I have like one objective and I get to spend all day on that one objective, I'm like, Damn, that must be
That's
nice.
not entirely
I mean,
true.
I know what you mean though, but
Like
you
I
you
have my main objective,
main
but I
objective.
have like 50 other things
Right.
that appear that I need to tackle. But I always have
Right.
the main thing that I go back to.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me it had gotten to a place where it seemed very overwhelming because it was almost impossible for me to just clear out time to focus on an objective. If I have an objective, I had to like squeeze it in to whenever I could find time on top of the other like 30 ongoing tasks that I would have to do every day.
Yeah.
For me, like using something like Trello just became overwhelming because I had all of these ideas and these tasks that I would never be able to, they were just collecting.
Yeah.
Whereas like, the same tasks I would have to finish every day to priority.
Yeah. I think that's like the way I would modify using Trello is more for like an idea collection board than for like an actual thing to like get shit done, like moving stuff through a process. So I think in my future, I think so we chatted about this when I'm like working on these random ideas I have for as required. I think a good way to collect all my ideas would be to use a Trello board.
Yeah, and we were talking about this morning where I think I want to explore using Trello for content. Like separated into Instagram versus like blog versus whatever, but just keeping it on paper is too chaotic for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think because currently I use Google Sheets, but it's like Excel. It's like a spreadsheet.
Right.
That shit is like not the most motivating or inspiring thing to look
Yeah.
at when I go back to it. But that's the thing I like about Trello is that the interface is like nice cards and like, you could physically pick up things and drag things from one thing to another. And it's a good way to just organize ideas. So I think I might be shifting my like ideas for my live streams for as required, and then also the newsletter topics that I'm thinking about writing about, just like collecting them all in Trello and using that to yeah. You okay?
I have to sneeze, but it's stuck.
I was about to change it to you because it looked like you had something to
Google
say.
Keep. So hi Deshaun. So Anita asked. She also said that she does it for her designers to maintain their work in progress, which I think is Trello's
Trello.
great
Yeah.
for. But she asked, how would you make sure to go back and look at all those ideas? Anita, did you mean on Trello or just like in general, like on paper? And I've actually never heard of Google Keep.
So that's my issue. Well, exactly the thing that Anita brought up was that I will create it in the beginning, but I will never go back and look at it like when I need to, when I need to move something from like in progress to in review to complete. I would never like maintaining it would go out the door. So
for your own work, you don't do it, but for the people you supervise, it's a great way for you to keep track.
It should be a good way for me to like have an overarching view of like what my team is working on and like what projects are there and what state that they're in, but it's only as good as if people
using it.
And if people don't use it and it's outdated, then it's completely pointless because I'm looking at something that's like not maintained. So, and I'm like the number one person who is like really bad at maintaining that stuff. So that's pretty hard. But I think the other tool we started talking about was Asana.
Yeah.
And when I think about my usage of Asana versus Trello, I actually use Asana way more when I was working back at Gimlet. When I was working at Gimlet, I had 2 designers reporting to me, and I worked with a lot of marketing managers who were like managing each of the many projects that I was working on.
Yeah.
And I used Asana like a lot. And the part of Asana that I used the most was the calendar view. And I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, I could technically use Google Calendars to do the same thing, but it feels like it's for meetings and it's not for projects. But I just love having that calendar view, so I see like, oh, on Friday I have to see like 5 cards on Friday, like all this shit is due.
Yeah.
And then you can make projects like extend from like Wednesday to Friday, so I could show other people who are going to look at the calendar that from Wednesday to Saturday I'm focusing on this project, and you can see it in this like card across the
I think in
thing.
highly collaborative environments, something like Asana would be really beneficial.
I don't know. I feel do you have to pay for? Is there like a free version of
There's a
Asana
free
that I could
version,
use?
and then so I think I was using the free version, and there's a limit to how many people you can have in your like group or
but
your bubble.
I was thinking about using it just for me as like
Yeah,
looking at a
I've
calendar
used it for
to
myself.
see like do this on this date and like here's the information and stuff like that.
Anita asked, because she mentioned that having too many places to check is overwhelming, which is absolutely true.
Yes, I fall into that at my job.
Hold up, Peter, Outlook, like what are you gonna do to keep your tasks on your typewriter?
I'm
like
not
calm
gonna
down.
get into
Outlook is like very, very it's
Outlook.
outdated and like frustrating.
Outlook is the bane of my existence. And
he hates Outlook.
I hate Outlook because I've designed emails. Like, so for my job, I designed the newsletter, and like the design looks awesome in every single email client except Outlook. Outlook is always fucking things up, and like it always looks terrible in Outlook.
Yeah, I know it's like a much more standard work email, especially I feel like their security I feel is probably
Anybody who uses a Windows based system and more of an enterprise company, they all use Outlook. So I have to design for Outlook because a lot of our clients like work for banks, and all of them use like Windows, Outlook, stuff like that. Anyway, getting back to what was I talking about?
Shifting them to
tools.
having too many tools.
So I fall into that all the time because, especially if you like work in a company where it's kind of like, choose whatever tools work for you, and then like each department or each team like has their own tool that they like working with, and then like so I'm in design, so I like always work flat like across all departments. So I kind of have to like jump into the tools that they're using to like insert myself into, and it's like so annoying to have like 50 different sites on my bookmarks. Check this for this team, check this for that team, check this for whatever. So definitely feel that pain of like using many different tools.
And I guess for folks, if there is anybody here who's a little less tech savvy or just kind of like prefers pen to paper like I do, one of the reasons why I tend to have like different notebooks for different things. For me, the reason why I like the Passion Planner so much, it's a very cheesy name, but the reason I have like the big one that's like, I don't know how to, like this big by this big, like a full notebook or like a small laptop. But the reason why I like it is because the way that it's shaped, it's structured on the inside is that it's a weekly calendar, but everything is vertical. So it looks like a Google Calendar if you go into weekly view. It's like it's got all the timestamps along the left side, and then it's you can like create arrows and blocks for yourself. But there's a space on the bottom. The left is like a personal to-do list, and the right on one side you've got it split into a personal to-do list and a work to-do list, and then on the other side the bottom space is split into like ideas. And the way that I was using that when I had a million things to do is I would either put on Post-its or like on that big blank space, I would write down all the things that I need to get done that like in general, right? Including things to follow up on, including just ideas that I want to make sure I don't forget. And then on that left side, I would like shift it over to things I want to focus on during the week. And then every day I would create a timeline for myself. So I wouldn't try to plan those out in advance, but I would like do time blocks for myself because I work the best in 2-hour blocks. 2 hours, whether that's even like a break. And then there's a little space on top. I wish I had the planner for you, but there's a little space on top where you have this day's focus so that you can just like pick a single objective for the day. And that reminded me to have boundaries around certain things. So like if people keep coming up to me and interrupting me with like meetings or interrupting me with requests, I started being able to say like, hey, how high priority is this? Because I really want to make sure I get this done today. Because that was my goal for the day. Especially when you're in a highly collaborative environment, it's really easy for people to be like, hey, this is really important. This is really important. But when you really ask them, then they'll like scale back a little bit. So the Passion Planner has like a section for everything. And then whatever I don't finish for that week, I'll actually just transfer over onto the next page. So that was what was helpful for me because stuff like Trello, like it's just so easy for me to ignore. Like I just choose not to look at it. And if I miss my deadline, I just block it out. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's what I was using.
I think there's like, because you're mainly a like physical notebook type of person. I think if you are more of a digital person like me, like I try to have notebooks, but then I'm the opposite where I will never maintain a written notebook, but I'm like good with digital stuff. I think in the same vein, you could utilize like templates. Like you could always have like a Google Doc with like literally all those like things in it and just make a copy of it where it's like just have a blank template Google Doc that says like main focus : empty. Whatever, like what do you have to do today? Empty. And then just like every single day like duplicate that file and fill it out.
I think in the end there's a lot of tools that you can use, but it's always going to come back to whether or not you maintain it.
What is the thing that you always go back to that you use on a daily basis?
Doza asked, did you have anything else you want to say?
No, I was actually looking at Doza's question.
Cool.
I think I could answer my version of this.
Yeah.
So I guess it's different.
Do you want to read out the question?
Yeah, so the question Doze is asking is, with handling multiple clients, how do you manage client requests per their respective projects, prioritizing, bin their requests per day, first come, first serve? So there's a lot of variables that go into juggling multiple clients, or, I used to freelance, so I used to have multiple clients, but now, like, in a job, I have multiple clients in, like, the multiple different departments and different people that I interact with. And one of the tough things is, like, I think one of the things I'm currently dealing with is, like, a lack of lead time. So in theory, the more lead time you have, like, from when you take on a job or a project to, like, when it's due, the more time you have, the better you are at, like, planning out when you're able to do that work, versus, like, if somebody comes to you with a project and they need it due tomorrow, or they need it due by the end of day, it's hard to, like, be more efficient with your time with that.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like I go on a different level of prioritization, because everything is, like, urgent, everything is, like, important. And the way I, like, prioritize my work projects, like, I guess this might not make sense for people who are, like, managing multiple clients, but I'll try to come back to that. But in my current work scenario, I'm always prioritizing, because everybody's, like, coming at me with, like, this, I'm the most important thing. I prioritize it more for, like, the business. Like, is this a thing that's making the company money, or is this gonna, like, lose a big name client for us? Then that's, like, the most important. Like, the utmost important thing is that, like, the company is making money. So is this, like, is a client hinging on this thing, so it needs to be done as soon as possible? Or the other part, so the Block is a crypto news site, is something broken on the site that's preventing people from reading content on our website? Is this, like, a project that's going to, like, fix that? Then that's going to be the most priority thing.
So the company's objectives have to take priority.
Yeah, because when you think about a lot of projects that you have to do, a lot of requests that people have are, like, nice to have, but they don't, like, affect the core functioning of the business, which is, are people able to read content on the website? Are clients giving us their money? Are ads being shown to people so we could collect money from those ads? Like, those are, like, the core things that keep the business running. So any projects that are core, like, is affecting those things, that is definitely the most highest priority thing. And then all the other stuff is just kind of, like, nice to have. So if there's not a critical thing where people aren't able to read the website, or not able to, like, show ads and make money on it, or there's a project that a client is waiting for that is going to write out a big check to us, and, like, something's preventing that from going over the finish line, then to tackle those things first.
Cool. So if you are an entrepreneur, so you have to kind of set your own objectives and your own goals, or a freelancer, which is, I guess, similar. So I think, what advice would you have?
Yeah, so I'll try and put it into context for back to self, for your thing. But I think coming up with yourself, like, what is, for this quarter, like, what is your key top things that you want to accomplish? Is it, like, putting yourself out more, like
marketing? Yeah,
is it, like, acquiring more people, like, to know who you are? So is it, like, marketing, or is it, like, developing new programs, or developing different types of workshops? So I think when it comes to prioritization, I think the most important thing is, like, literally sitting down with yourself and writing down, all right, what are my priorities? It's to acquire more visitors, or acquire more views, or sell more tickets, or it's, I need to develop a better curriculum, I need to develop more workshops. Like, what is it? And then writing those things down will help you prioritize your own projects, because you'll know that, oh, this is more important because my goal is getting more people to getting more exposure to people, versus, like, oh, do I sit here and develop a new workshop, or do I sit here and do more Instagram posts?
Right.
You know what is more priority, because you said, this quarter my priority is to acquire more eyes on my work.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I'll throw in something from the perspective of somebody who might not necessarily be an entrepreneur, and who has, like, supervisors or other teams that are more telling them what needs to be done. And if they're not good at prioritizing things for themselves, then it'll get overwhelming for you.
Yeah.
Because you're the one that has to, like, do stuff for them. And if they're the kind where it's like, listen, everything is an emergency, like, they need this, and they choose to like, if they have a priority, but then somebody above them that makes money will prioritize something, they'll be like, no, actually this is a priority, and things get really confusing for you. So some of the things that I've tried again, you can only control so much whether or not it'll work for them. But one of the things that I have to do is be like, hey, can you just tell me what your 3 priorities are for this week?
Yeah.
Like, I know that there's a lot happening, but right now it's a little bit unclear for me what your priorities are, and I want to make sure that I can get things done for you. So could you just kind of let me know what your 3 priorities are, either for the day or for the week, so that if they send you something, you can remind them that it doesn't align with their priority rather than your priority. And just be like, hey, listen, boss, I know that you said this is an emergency, but like, I just want to make sure I get this out for you. So what do you want me to prioritize for you? So that you don't end up being scared that you're not completing 100% of your task and will get penalized for it.
I think along that same thread, and I advise this for anybody who has a company, or even if you're like an entrepreneur of your own business, is like coming up with a document that's like your mission statement. Like, do you have a mission statement for Back to Self? Or I did this when I was working at Gimlet. Like, I worked with we did a whole rebrand with an agency, and I think one of the most important things in the document we came up in the rebrand was like, what is the mission statement? What is your brand promise? And if everybody, all the employees of the company could look at this doc and say like, this mission statement is this one line, then they'll know whether or not their ideas is good for the brand. Because is it going to this mission? All right, then this is a good idea. Or no, this is a distraction for the company because it doesn't focus on this like one mission statement.
Yeah.
So just sitting down with yourself and coming up with like a mission statement and then like just some value, just some words that are, what are the values of my company? And you'll know, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, if you have an idea, like, oh, I want to like pursue this project, like it doesn't matter what level employee you are. If you have an idea for a project, you'll know whether or not that project or that idea is good for the company if it like actually satisfies the mission statement of the company. So I've thought about this when it comes to As Required. I always tell you that like whatever the kind of mission, I don't have like the actual line, but I know that it's like all the projects that I do should be rooted in education somehow. So even though like I'm doing a lot of design stuff, like the underlying thread is like, is it educating? Is it educational content? Or is it like helping people learn? And that kind of guides me to know, yes, this is a right project for As Required, or no, this is just a distraction that's going to distract me from like the things that I'm trying to do with As Required. So I think if I had like one, and I think it's a piece of advice that I give to individuals too. Like, you as a human being, like, what is your mission statement as a human being? What do you want to accomplish with your life? That when you die, like you said that, oh, I set out to do this and I'm happy and like I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like, if you sat down and thought about your life purpose and you have that. But I recommend that a lot for every year, just coming up with, like a word. But every year, just kind of coming up with an idea of what you want to experience. I talk to my friends a lot about how, like, let's say you're unhappy with your job, right? Because they're not doing the things that you want to be doing or whatever. But then there's a lot of unhappiness that ends up happening because we believe like our capacity to do things are limited by what people give us permission to do. So like if my job isn't letting me do what I really want and I'm communicating to them and it's not working, there's this belief, like you just kind of get lost. But if you sit down and you think about what you want to do that year, even in the long term, like, okay, my passion has always been mental health in like the Asian realm in particular, because there's just such a gap and I'm just like a psych nerd. But I've always tried to find ways to incorporate it into every single job that I've done. And if there's no room to create that, then I know that it's not the right role for me. But the other thing is that it didn't matter how overwhelmed I was at work, I would always prioritize a single project that'll allow me to do it, whether it's as a volunteer or incorporating it into a program. Like, I would prioritize that for myself. So there's some people where it's like, okay, if you're in a job where, for instance, you know that in 6 years you want to be a manager, then what's like one thing you want to experience, or what's one skill you want to make sure you have time to focus on? And then just try to prioritize that for yourself, and then let people around you know that like, hey, I'm working on this. I kind of want to, so going back to, because this kind of
veered off of Doza's question, and I kind of know, Doza, the situation that you're in as like a freelancer. Maybe you're talking about clients that you're doing videos for, and this kind of relates more to when I was freelancing as a designer, like taking on clients for like design work, and they're all different people, and like we're not under the same umbrella of like one company. So you're kind of self-managing and like whatever to everybody's different deadlines that are completely unrelated. One of the things, and I know like not a lot of people have the liberty of like choosing their clients.
He just said I hate clients.
Yeah, I would say that like the prioritization, like if you do the diligence in like the clients that you work with, that you don't take a client that you know is going to be a pain in the ass, like you'll have good relationships and you'll avoid that. But a lot of people, like, your core mission is to put food on the table and your core mission is to like pay your rent. So not a lot of people have the liberty of like being able to choose their clients. Right. It's kind of just like, I'll take whatever comes to me. But like, I think the most important thing that you could do in terms of prioritization or even like managing deadlines and like not getting into a hole of like, shit, everything's due and everybody's like asking for stuff, is to just improve your communication with the client and like let them know, be very transparent about what you're doing. And that like, if you have to push a deadline back because of like it requires X, Y, and Z, if you're more transparent in the beginning of the process so that they understand what you're actually doing, the more like lenient they'll be with like, oh, I need to push a deadline back because I wasn't able to do A, B, and C, and like doing A, B, and C would actually greatly improve the result of this. A lot of people, and I've fallen into this trap of like, you know, maybe I did say like a deadline was at this date and I like didn't do anything for the first week, and I kind of put myself in that situation of getting screwed. In the end, like, then that's like kind of on you, and like you need to take responsibility for like fucking that up. But I think if anything, like if you're genuinely trying to do work or trying to do good work and trying to put together a really good project, and like you are kind of falling behind because maybe you like misread how much time or misread the scope of the project, or, you know, maybe a client just all of a sudden added a bunch of extra stuff that wasn't initially agreed upon, like the better you are communicating and the more transparent you are about everything that you're doing, the better relationship that you'll be in, and like, you know, you'll be able to prioritize and manage your work a lot better.
And I guess that kind of stuff comes with experience, so that you know the work you're doing and you know the kind of clients you want, and you know the processes that go into it. And I know that that's a little bit difficult until you're in the game for long enough. But I think what's really interesting about that mindset too is that like you have to learn to get comfortable with communicating your boundaries. Like you have to learn to get comfortable with communicating what your values are. You know, I talk to people a lot about like whenever you feel lost or unmoored, to like always come back to what your 3 core values are. I think like a lot of people go in life without being asked what their core values are, and you usually don't reflect on it unless you're asked. But a lot of the times it's like, you know, if you feel like you're unhappy at work, there's usually, it's not because they're doing something to you, it's usually because it doesn't align with something you strongly believe in at the core. And that usually stays consistent throughout most of your life. So like, it's always a good exercise to really like reflect on what like your 3 to 5 main core values are, get really deep, like specific about it, and then try to construct your mission statement around that. Like, okay, mental health is a really big field. Mental health in the Asian realm, huge field, right? But for me, it's more like you know, working in nonprofit, you can go, I like to help people. Like that's not enough, right? So for me, when I thought about like the kind of clients the audience that I wanted to reach with the journaling workshops and Back to Self, it was a very specific audience that I had to narrow it down to. I don't know. I don't really know where that fits in, but I think core values are tied in deeply.
So do you want to do a quick exercise right now?
Do you have one in mind?
No, I mean, I just wanted to ask you, like, if I asked you today, like, what are 3 words or values that you would, that you could come up with for Back to Self? Like, what are the 3 words that you would center upon?
No, I need some time for that. I mean, core values is like, I can talk about my personal core values, which took like a year or more to develop. Okay, let me try 3 for Back to Self.
Yeah, I mean, they don't need to be the words, but like if today you had 3 words to describe Back to Self, like.
So for those who don't know, I'm sure a lot of you know at this point, but Back to Self is a workshop that focuses on emotional navigation through journaling in particular. 3 core values.
And then I'll try to do the same because I don't want to put you on the spot. I'll also try to do it
rude.
for as required as well.
I think for me, one core value with Back to Self is that I want to make sure to make like certain emotionally empowering frameworks accessible and available to everyone. So like right now it's usually mostly accessible to people who make the hurdle to go into therapy or they can afford therapy, and I want to be like, nah, actually you can do it by yourself for free. And the other core value is culture. Like for me, I always bring it back to culture, like tying in how the fact that you might be coming from a collectivist society really impacts the way you confront difficult emotions or communicate them. And I guess the last thing is like narrative. Like a lot of it is just like empowering your narrative and understanding that you have more power over your narrative than you realize. So I guess those are my three things.
Yeah. Well, so what are they? They're narrative, culture,
and access.
Access. Okay, that's pretty good. Those are
Thank
three really
you.
good ones. I could only think of one for mine, which is just education.
But come on, you can get deeper than that. Education is such a fuzzy word.
Yeah. So so the whole thing with education is I have this theory that like the fundamental like cure to like a lot of the problems that we see in the world is just more educated people. And I think it's the approach, because anybody could say education, right? But I think the core tenets of the education that I want to like instill in people is just like is like making people better like deductive reasoners. Like when something is presented to people, like always being able to question it and like understanding the roots of like where this statement or this idea came from. Like if we could just get people to be a little bit better deductive reasoners, it would like improve society so much. So there's that element of it, and then the other element of it is like I don't want education to be this idea of people just memorizing books or like memorizing stuff that they could just regurgitate. It's more about like how do you solve problems? How do you become a better problem solver when something that is completely mystery and like new to you and like you don't know what it is, like what's the first thing you do to like feel it out and figure out how to solve this problem? Like I think those skills are way more valuable than like memorizing an entire like biology book.
Right. So I feel that education it doesn't capture all that. It seems like if my summary of interpretation is that like deductive problem solving is a core value. Just also from knowing you and hearing you talk about it, transparency is also a big core value for you.
Yeah, I guess it would be more communicate. And I just said this whole thing when I was giving the advice to Doza, but yeah, like transparency, communication, it's either one of those two.
Communication's a huge one for me too.
But like being a better communicator of what you do. And because that's what I tell you all the time. Like as I've risen in the ranks of design, I've learned that like 75% of design is communicating. And if you're not a good communicator, then you won't be able to design the things you want to design in the way you want to design them, because you'll always have clients like saying like, make that blue, make that red. But if you become better at communicating why you've made the decisions that you've made as a designer, then you'll be able to like make whatever you've envisioned as like the best, most beautiful design. People will just be on board with that if you've properly communicated those things.
So would you say deductive problem solving, transparency, and communication would be accurate core values for as required?
I guess so, but some of those are like 2 words.
Okay, all right.
Anyway.
So we kind of veered off the topic again.
Yeah.
I also want to do
Let's
a time check and say that it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, let's bring it back to productivity, and then if we want to
we'll
start
close out.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to talk about, I'm so happy we still have people watching. But I think one thing when Chow mentioned that topic too, especially during now, for me, so much of productivity has to do with emotions. I don't know whether you guys are as led with your emotions as I am, because I've been told that I'm a very like emotional person, which was not the case a few years ago. But I think, there's definitely studies out there that talk about how procrastination is hugely tied to emotions. Like so much of procrastination is tied into like vague unnamed anxiety or fear about certain things or imposter syndrome, or like you're just not in the mood that day. So, I'm just going to circle back around and I guess we can close it out because it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah, we could go back to
But
Chow's original
yeah.
request for the topic. So
Yeah, but I also want to kind of say that so much of getting through emotions is actually, I'm realizing, ties back into having a routine and a ritual. So if that's a topic that you want us to talk about, I guess, in the future, since we kind of veered away from that a little bit, let us know.
yeah.
But I like definitely feel that emotions are at the root of everything. And my productivity is so tied into how I'm feeling. So that's also one of the reasons why I end up like journaling through a lot of things. And I had to incorporate journaling into my like morning routine, because when I take my morning poop into my journal, the rest of my day is like super smooth
Yeah.
and regular.
I think that's like and we started off with it, but I think that is like the ultimate productivity hack. I think that's the thing that like we got out of this, is that routine is super important.
Yeah.
Building a routine.
And a ritual.
Even my like the thing that I miss the most, my like ideas on my commute, that's part of routine.
Yeah.
And having some sort of routine and creating those spaces for yourself to just like, get in the routine, the 3 R's, the routine, ritual, rhythm type of stuff is like the ultimate productivity hack.
And maybe creating new routines now that you can't rely on the changes in environment to create that for you. So like for me, one thing I realized is I have to like move my body physically to clear out my head. So I would have to create a routine around like a light workout. Or like the other day I actually just cleaned the floors. I like sweep the floors just so that I can like move around the house, just to clear that space. With artists, they talk about how before you do any like big work, people recommend like warming up, doing these like warm-up sketches, just to clear that energy, that stagnancy, and then working on something low consequence like a background before you start working on like the bigger stuff, the more important stuff. So I think I might actually have to create some kind of like warm-up stuff to clear stagnant energy so that I can get into my zone.
I always have like when I start my day at the office, I always have some sort of warm-up, which is why 11 a.m. is my like key productivity, because like from like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm like just doing, so my warm-up ritual is just browsing the internet, going to inspiration sites and like looking at like what are the brand updates like other companies have done today, what's the new websites that went on the web that's like fascinating.
But it's specifically around design, not just like browsing Facebook or browsing.
No, not browsing Facebook.
Yeah.
But I'll read all the news sites, like read New York Times, and it's just like browsing whatever it is that you want to do or the goal that it is you're accomplishing. Like have that. Yeah, I think warm up is important, of just like surrounding yourself with that energy before you begin your task.
So maybe what I would do is like do like a light movement. I'm not going to call it a workout because I don't want to commit to a workout. But I think for me too, that when I was out on the fire escape, like reading, that was almost like I was getting into an inspired mindset to write. Because right now my goal for this week is to write like newsletters or blog posts just to get writing juices flowing. Yeah. So I might read a little bit as like my warm up before I sit down in front of a computer. Yeah. So that might be something interesting. So let's wrap up.
Yeah. I saw some people talking about Slack.
Oh, yeah.
Here, so before we wrap up, do you have any words to say about like, let's just get off the.
Oh yeah, Maka. No, we'll talk online about Slack. Let's bring it back online.
Yeah, let's interact with whoever's still on here before we wrap it up.
Yeah, I've actually not figured out how to toggle between multiple Slack environments.
You need to add workspaces. So if there's a tab to add workspaces, and you'll have like multiple things down the farthest left corner. I have like 4 different.
Give me like a tutorial.
Yeah, when we get back, I'll teach you how to add workspaces.
Teach you how to feature.
I have like 4 different Slack things. I have mixed feelings about Slack.
Ooh, let's get juicy. Okay. Let's get juicy.
So one thing I don't like about Slack, and I think this might be the nature of the company that I'm working in right now, but like everybody communicates through Slack and nobody emails. And the biggest issue I have with that is that people like make formal requests for like projects and stuff through Slack, and it's hard to find the information on that later. So that's why I prefer emails, because like people will ask for shit on Slack and then I can't like go back and like see what I have to do. I'd like prefer people send emails for that stuff. So Slack has replaced so much stuff that I prefer using email for, and that's like the one thing I don't like about Slack. So yeah, that's my like one big gripe. And the fact that like my work uses it religiously for everything makes it hard to execute on tasks because it's hard to find the information I need because it's like in some random direct message that's already like 50 messages deep.
It's like a chat room. Like I have like I was a child of the early 2000s, so I have like very mixed feelings about chat rooms. But it's just like you're competing. There's so much competition for like space and dialogue.
Yeah, so my office, so it was funny, we actually recently we implemented new Slack practices to like tackle this, and one of them was like using threads. So if there's like a specific topic that you want to engage with, like make it a thread and like reply in a thread to it versus like in the stream of the main thing. And people always fall off of the thread thing, so that's like hard to maintain. So threading, it could be useful, but also it's one of those things that fights against what people are naturally doing in Slack anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. I prefer. I wish I could go back to email.
Yeah, but we're also like children. We're pre-internet children.
Yeah, and then I know. So I'm like, I guess I'm a different email user because a lot of people are the types of email users that have like 10,000 unread.
That's me.
I'm the type of person that
you're zero inbox zero.
Yeah, zero inbox zero. Anytime there's like a notification, I need to get rid of it. So I like read every email. Sometimes I like will click one, but like not read it and like miss it. So I'm guilty of that sometimes too.
Man, I have 15,000 unread emails in my Gmail. How are we together? What is this like?
I'm at inbox zero. While my inbox is, there's no red badge there. I need to like read it. But I don't know. I like emails. I like always having a history emails. Of stuff.
Yeah. I prefer having separate threads for things. I like to compartmentalize all of my things. I have separate emails for specific things too. Yeah. So the other thing I don't like about Slack is like if you have the type of Slack thing that it's like a Wild West in terms of channel creation. Yeah. And there's just like 50 million different channels. It's just... Yeah, but that's like Trello for me. It's just there's no regulation, there's no parameters, so I just get like really overwhelmed.
Esther, that's exactly what I just mentioned is the channel overload. Yeah, there's like so many different channels and...
Yeah. All right, I'm going to recommend that we wrap this up because I'm so hungry. I'm so hungry and I need to pee. I figure we can do like, and oh my God, I just want to say, by the way, like, thanks so much guys for staying like engaged this whole time. It got real deep, real quick.
That's how I prefer these live streams is to be more like, I think having a topic would just keep us talking about something, but I prefer to like answer and talk about questions that people are asking.
So I really love that you guys are here.
Thank you to everybody who was in the chat room with us today. But we're going to wrap this up. I think we're going to start doing more live streams a little bit more often. I think our like schedules were... I'm like starting a bunch of new projects. Jess has like a bunch of workshops scheduled. So we're trying to fit this in between those things. But we'll definitely let you guys know.
Yeah. Can we do 2 wrap-up questions just to leave on a light level?
Okay.
Would you have a music recommendation or a book recommendation for any of the folks that are out here? Like, what are you listening to?
I don't really read books, so I guess I'll tackle the music. I mean, I've been...
Yeah,
both of us have been using the Spotify, like, radio. Or we do the lo-fi beats, but the way I use Spotify now is I just, like... Whatever song is stuck in my head, I'll, like, go to that song in Spotify and then hit the little triple dot thing and go to the radio for that song.
Yeah. Today we were listening to Moon
Boots.
Moon Boots. What kind of music is Moon Boots?
It's more like disco or like deep house. Like, so there's 2 different context in EDM. There's 2 different contexts for deep house, but he's considered deep house. But it's more like disco-y vibes.
So we were listening to Crystal Waters. Wait, no, Crystal. Yeah, Crystal. Is that it?
I don't know the name of that song, but I know that song.
Oh my gosh. Da da dee da 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 dee da da.
Don't play it because then this video might get taken down for copyright.
Okay, my bad. But we were listening to that and we found like a really nice remix by Miha that had like it. They basically remixed the Crystal Waters song with like a really nice beat behind it.
Disco-y.
Disco,
like,
yeah, it's like disco.
This reminds me of Moon
EDM.
Boots,
So he put on Moon Boots, which was like a vibe. Ooh, look at all your favorite songs. Cool. Thanks. So if you guys want to look at the Moon Boots playlist today, and if it's your vibe, maybe it'll help you get into a zone.
What are you
book recommendation
feeling in terms of book?
So right now I'm reading How to Write an Autobiography by Alexander Chee. In case anybody in here is a book or like I read books the way people watch TV. So I'm also reading 3 different books. But right now, this morning I was reading How to Write an Autobiography. Alexander Chee is a half Asian, half Caucasian, gay writer. And it's a series of short essays that are just really beautifully written about his journey to becoming a writer and also just his life growing up in San Francisco during like the riots and the AIDS crisis and stuff. Beautifully written, just lighthearted. It's not lighthearted, but it's like a good, easy read. So if anybody's looking for anything beautiful to read just in like a few pages a day, I would recommend that. Okay.
Cool. So
God.
I think that wraps it up. Thank you all
Thank
for
you guys.
watching. I'm just going to put like one little laugh at the end of this just to annoy
A bed
Deza.
squeak too.
And that's it. We'll see you in the next live stream. We'll post it ahead of time. But
Eater, eater.
peace.
Eater, eater.